Lass mich doch mal gerade einfach ins Menü starten.
Welcome to the AV-42C. First, let's keep the bird from rolling away by using the bird. Now let's move on to the startup sequence. First, turn on the main battery. This will store power for all the electronic equipment on the aircraft.
Okay, so. Okay, ich habe mir gerade VTOL VR runtergeladen und will das gerade mal ausprobieren. Ich habe das tatsächlich vorher noch überhaupt nicht ausprobiert. Beziehungsweise ich habe nur ganz klein bisschen vorhin rumgespielt. Ich habe irgendwie nicht mal eine Stunde gerade drauf. Und würde ganz gerne einfach mit den Tutorials anfangen. Bisschen mit dem Bird hier umgehen. Mal gucken, was das Ding so kann. Ich bin sehr gespannt, was das Ding kann und wie anders es ist zu DCS. Das ist ja tatsächlich sehr verrückt. Hier die Hände, die sind ausschließlich mit den VR-Controllern zu bedienen. Genauso die ganzen Controls hinten. Wir schauen mal, wie es wird. Einfach mal anmachen, die Kiste.
Now start the auxiliary power unit, or APU. This will keep the battery charged while we complete the startup sequence. Wait a moment to allow the APU to spool up. We're now ready to start up the engines.
So, dann klappen hoch. Ich schalte auch gleich mal um.
Keep an eye on the engine gauges and wait for the RPM to settle.
Ich zeig so ein bisschen, was ich hier sehe.
The engines are now supplying electrical power, so we can turn off the APU. Now we can turn on the heads-up display.
Lass mich mal kurz umschalten, dann könnt ihr sehen, was ich sehe. Ding, ding, ding. Das muss aber, genau, das. So, na, das sieht doch schon mal ganz gut aus jetzt. Ja, wunderbar. Okay. Das mache ich mal wieder aus hier. Das brauche ich nicht. Was soll ich anmachen? Ach ja.
The HUD, or heads-up display, shows you attitude, altitude, velocity, targeting reticles, and other important flight data at a glance. Now turn on the multifunction displays, or MFD. The MFDs give you access to aircraft features such as weapon configuration, navigation maps, sensors, and etc. You can access these features by pressing the corresponding buttons around the edge of the monitor. You'll learn more about the features of the MFDs in a later tutorial. The vehicle is now ready to fly. In the next tutorial, we'll talk about basic flight controls, taxiing, takeoff, and landing.
Okay, das war's nämlich schon. Okay. Das war doch schon mal easy peasy. Finish Mission und wir schauen mal, dass wir... Es ist aber nicht so geil, dass ihr das nicht seht, was ich sehe. Ich habe jetzt immer nur den Second Screen drin. Lass mich mal probieren, ob ich das hinbekomme, dass ihr auch seht, was ich sehe. Eine Sekunde. Das wäre ja irgendwie ganz nett. Naja, immerhin. Seht ihr das hier, ne? Ich glaube, wir müssen erstmal noch ein kleines bisschen hier mit rumspielen und schauen, was so funktioniert. Mit den Kameras, ich habe schon mitbekommen, die Kameras scheinen da schon ein bisschen funktionaler zu sein hier. Da gibt es schon coole Funktionen hier drin. Habt ihr ja gerade gesehen, mit externer View und Third Person ist eigentlich schon ganz cool. Aber ich glaube, es ist ganz gut, wenn ihr einfach so gut zoomen könnt, das ist besser. So ist für den Moment. So, dann. Das scheint. So, Basic Flight. Und wir steigen wieder zurück in die Kestrel und schauen uns mal an, was die Kestrel kann. Hämchen aufsetzen. So. Ja, ja. Hey,
Welcome to the
sorry.
basic flight tutorial.
I have no clue.
We'll
I
skip the
just
startup
started
procedure
right.
now and pick up where we left off in the last one. The main flight controls are the joystick and throttle.
Let's see
You
if
can
it's
grip
hard.
them by holding the grip buttons, or toggle lock your hands to them by tapping the grip buttons. Let's start with taxiing. Grab onto the main flight controls now.
Okay. Geben wir nur noch den Fokus. Warum geben wir nur noch den Fokus? Let's see. Okay, now this is focus. Let me quickly check. Okay. Let's grab the joystick. Let's grab the throttle.
To steer the front wheel, you will have to twist the joystick on the vertical axis.
No, I don't. I have no.
In order to get moving, we need to tilt the engines to the forward position. Start by holding the throttle trigger to lock the wheel brakes. Then, press and hold up on the throttle thumb control to tilt the engines forward. The indicator here shows the status of the engine tilt.
Okay, feels a little bit like AV Harrier AV9. Okay.
Now if you release the brakes and slightly lift the throttle lever, you will start to roll. Apply small amounts of throttle or brakes to control your speed. Don't go too fast. Try taxiing over to the marked waypoints.
Okay. Rolls pretty fast. It's definitely different to DCS, especially with the controls. But with the other pedals, it feels okay.
Okay, stop here. Throttle down and hold the throttle brake trigger. Let's prepare for a conventional takeoff.
Okay, let's
Set the
prepare.
brake lock so you can free up your hands. Remember, if your hands are locked to the controls, you have to tap the grip buttons to release them. Set the flaps to position 1. Make sure all flight assists are enabled. They should be already. Double check that the engines are tilted all the way forward. The indicator should read 0. Now grab the throttle again and hold the brakes.
Okay, you know what? Let's turn on a little bit of the instruments. Cockpit light, bay light. Nope, not really. Can I turn it down? Oh yeah, I can. Okay, turn it on. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
While holding the brakes with your left hand, you can disable the brake lock with your right hand. Okay, now taxi onto runway 20.
Looks futuristic. But not too far off. Okay. Let's line up.
Now to take off, raise the throttle to full and steer to keep aligned with the runway.
Okay.
Keep speeding up, straight down the runway.
Okay, then let's speed up.
Now carefully rotate the joystick back to pull the nose up. Great, you're in the air. Now you can raise the landing gear and set flaps to 0.
Landing gear.
Now gently steer your nose up to about 20 degrees and keep climbing.
Okay. Okay, that's definitely weird handling. Okay, 3.281 feet.
Let's practice with the basic flight controls. Rotate the joystick left or right to roll towards your target. Rotate the joystick forward or back to pitch your nose towards it. This icon on the heads-up display shows your velocity vector, which is the direction you're actually moving.
The direction my nose is pointing. Makes sense.
Fly over to the target waypoint. Try to keep your movement smooth and avoid pulling too hard, as this can cause a stall.
Okay, now I have my hands off the throttle at the moment, only on the stick. Feels smooth enough. Relaxing. Yes, a little bit relaxing. Not so loud.
Great. Fly over to the next waypoint.
Maybe should have blue. Okay. Works fine. Maybe let's turn on navigation.
Great flying. Now let's try landing at the airbase. Start your landing at the next waypoint. Bring your speed down as you approach it. This will be a conventional landing on the runway.
Okay. It's a little bit weird then not having any wheel controls in the end. Deploying brakes. Slow down.
Line up with the runway and continue to bring your speed down. You can use the trigger on the throttle to control the air brakes.
That's actually what I'm doing. Okay.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Free your left hand to bring your flaps and landing gear down.
Landing gear.
Then continue to bring your speed down.
Landing gear. Altitude. Altitude. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Okay.
Maintain your speed and glide slope. Keep your vector on the target.
Concentration here.
Getting close. Prepare to flare your nose up for a nice smooth landing. Touchdown. Gently bring your nose down now. Keep steering down the runway. Throttle down and carefully apply brakes.
Yeah, brakes on. Nice. Nice and easy. That's cool.
Congratulations. This concludes the basic flight tutorial. Next time, we'll make use of the tilting engines and practice vertical takeoffs and landings.
Okay. Let's continue then. So still the vertical landing and flight. Let's see how that works. Okay. Seating position is right, and pop it on, and let's go.
Welcome to the vertical flight autopilot training. Vertical flight can be tricky, but by using the autopilot, you'll be a master in no time. First, make sure the engines are tilted at 90 degrees. Enable the hover autopilot mode. Also, enable the altitude autopilot. The hover mode will assist you in staying upright and keeping your horizontal velocity under control.
No.
The altitude mode, when combined with the hover mode, will take control of the engines and convert inputs into climb or descent rates. In this mode, keeping your throttle lever centered will hold you in a hover.
Okay.
Then you can raise or lower the throttle to climb or descend. You can check the position of the throttle lever on the altitude control status indicator on the HUD. When using the hover autopilot modes, keep your left thumb away from the tilt control. Any engine tilt less than 90 will disengage the hover autopilot. Go ahead and lift the throttle to full to take off. Keep climbing until you reach your target altitude. The autopilot will limit your ascent rate to a safe speed.
Okay. Das hört sich doch schon mal nicht so schlecht an. Auf jeden Fall easy.
Okay, now set the throttle lever to the midpoint to hover at this altitude.
Set.
Now you can use the joystick to move around horizontally. The hover autopilot will handle attitude control, so you just have to tilt the joystick in the direction you want to go. You can also twist the joystick to yaw. You can keep track of your relative horizontal velocity by using this indicator on the HUD.
Okay.
As you move around, study how the autopilot handles the vehicle. It'll help you when you try manually flying it later. Let's try flying into some targets. Try hovering at the next series of waypoints.
Erinnert mich gerade tatsächlich so ein bisschen an alte Voxel-Grafiken hier und an Comanche in den 90ern. Fühlt sich aber gut an. Easy flying. Zu DCS. Aber irgendwie ganz witzig. Fly it here. Okay, that's enough. I wonder how uncomfortable it will be in the future holding the controllers.
Great. Now let's try to land back on the helipad. Bring yourself to a stop by centering the throttle to hold your altitude and steering the stick in the opposite direction of your horizontal velocity indicator.
He wants what? So he wants me to be in a stable hover. Like this. Bring yourself to a stop by centering the throttle and steering the stick in the opposite direction as your horizontal velocity indicator. That's what I'm doing.
Use your yaw control to rotate towards the helipad. Begin to move towards the pad. Adjust your altitude control and steer your velocity vector so that it points just above the pad. As you approach the pad, slow your forward speed and rate of descent by pulling back on both the throttle and the joystick. Remember to keep making very small adjustments. Adjust your rate of descent and bring it down nice and gently.
Yep. It's just like a Apache. Nice.
Touchdown. Throttle down and enable the brake locks. Congratulations, that completes the tutorial. Next time we'll learn about manual vertical flight and transitioning into horizontal flight.
Hey, unlimited chain. Yeah, probably in the future. I just started, so it's kind of like a little bit more than 9 minutes into the game. Let me just practice flying a little bit. I actually also have to try my first weapons, which I'm doing right now. Okay, I think I downloaded some. Did I download something? Arctic. Okay. Hydro rockets. That sounds fun. Boop. Let's try again. Boop. Okay.
Welcome to the basic weapons tutorial. Today we will be covering weapon configuration, target acquisition, and firing weapons.
Okay.
Let's start by setting the MFDs to the pages we will use.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do equipment there. Okay, let's do equipment there. GGP. Yep.
The equip page shows what you have on each of the vehicle's equipment mounts. It displays information on each item and allows you to arm, disarm, configure, or mark them for jettison. We'll go over each feature in more detail later.
Okay, let's do that.
The TGP, or targeting pod, is what you will use to acquire ground targets. To use it, first you must supply power to the sensor mounted underneath the nose of the vehicle.
How do I do that? Push power.
The TGP will be in forward mode by default, which just looks straight forward.
Okay.
To be able to control it, you must designate the TGP as the sensor of interest, or SOI. Now, you can sleeve the targeting pod around using the thumb control on your joystick.
Nope, I cannot. Oh wait, I have to press just...
When you move the sensor, it'll automatically switch to target mode, which locks its focus point onto the ground while you're flying.
Okay.
The yellow arrow on the screen shows the relative bearing to the target point.
Ah, and I see it on my HUD. That's nice.
The target point also shows up on the nav map as a yellow cross.
Which I can also set as soy.
Now let's find some targets. Take off and fly to the objective waypoint. We'll pick it up when we get there.
Copy. Engines are running. Let's just unlock the brakes. And let's go. Vertical takeoff, right? Next time. Let's just do the rolling. Okay. Looks clear. Taking off from runway, was it 20? Hey JR. Nice that you're here. Okay, I'm about to go to that waypoint and wants me to do the arming first, right? Let's do everything in the right setup.
Now that we're in the area of operations, you can enable the master arm switch.
Let's do that. And that's there you go.
With the weapon system armed, you will see some new icons in the heads-up display. At the center, you have the weapon targeting reticle, or pipper. Up here, you have weapon type, name, and shots remaining. You can cycle through all the armed weapons by pressing the button on the joystick.
The button. Oh!
These unguided weapons can be fired simply by pulling the trigger on the joystick. You have limited stores, so save your rounds for the targets. Let's try deploying the GAU-8 on some ground targets. In a moment, you'll receive a mission objective. You can auto-slew your TGP to the objective waypoint by pressing the waypoint button in the TGP screen. Go ahead and destroy the tanks at the objective waypoint.
Okay. So where's the... Oh, okay. Let's do a circle around. Okay. And there we go. Whee! Okay, let's fire the guns. Not in range, not in range, not in range, not in range, in range.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
Interesting, okay. Fields, okay. Ish. It's not an A10, but it's some oomph in it.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Altitude. Pull up. Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, another round. Feels a little bit like a big, probably fast A10, to be honest. So should I just shoot into the woods or what? Oh, there's some pullback at least. First.
Altitude. 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 Pull up. Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
job.
Altitude.
Now let's work with rockets.
Altitude.
Okay.
Hydra 70s are small, unguided rockets. By default, each pull of the trigger will fire one rocket. However, they can be configured to launch rapidly. This is called ripple firing. To access the weapon's config menu, set the equipment MFD page to config mode. Then select the weapon you want to configure. If you have multiple of the same weapon type mounted in different locations, your settings will be copied over to all of them. Try setting the rockets to different ripple intervals and destroy the next set of targets.
I think the one I really have to get used to is pressing the different buttons here on the controllers. That's a bit weird, to be honest. Okay, let's head in. Altitude is 7,000-ish. And splash. Nope. Not at all.
Shoot. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
Okay. Interesting. Single ripple silver 2. And let's go back. Let's try jettisoning this one and oops, this one. We'll go jettison. G. I think that's these two buttons are the worst. Yeah. Let's do this. It's a range. It's 6 Nordic. That should be fine. Okay. Okay. Hydras are fun, but not very effective, to be honest. Maybe I also will change.
Over T. Over T. Shoot. Plop. 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 Altitude.
Irgendwas überhaupt getroffen? Wird gerade nicht so. Okay.
Over T.
Schauen wir noch. 4.
Over T. Over T. Over T. Over T. Over T.
Oh, warte mal, aber einer brennt doch.
Shoot. Plop. 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 Altitude. Over T. Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, last run in. Yes, I can. Jesus. Okay, that's weird.
Over T. Over T. Over
I
T.
like the scope inside in the A10. Okay, 8 nautical miles out. Last run in with rockets. It's even pulling up when you apply the brakes. Deploy the brakes.
Shoot. Plop. Plop. Altitude. Plop. Altitude.
And the last one
Altitude.
was missed.
Altitude.
Let's do a gun run. I'll try to keep them down to this.
Over T. Over T. Over T.
destroyed all of the targets.
Altitude.
This concludes the basic weapons tutorial.
Altitude.
Only thing that we didn't just do it with our height max. But okay. Okay. Whoa. Let's see. Disconnect. Finish. Okay, that were my first weapon deployment. So let's do some air-to-ground missiles. Let's go. Can only get harder from here on. And whoop, hammer on.
Autopilot disengaged.
Welcome to the air-to-ground missile tutorial. Air-to-ground missiles, or AGMs, are useful for precisely hitting light to medium armored ground targets. First, power up the targeting pod. You will use the TGP to designate targets for the AGMs. Now arm the weapon system. And switch to the AGM-114. These are small, laser-guided anti-tank
Autopilot
missiles.
disengaged.
Since they home in on the laser point emitted by your TGP, you must maintain line of sight to the target until it hits. To fire it, designate a target using the TGP, point your aircraft at the target until the missile locks on, then pull the trigger to fire.
So they're
You
AGM.
can also switch the missile seeker's uncaged mode to manual, which will allow you to fire at targets off bore sight. In manual mode, you hold the trigger to uncage the seeker, then press the weapon switch button to fire. Try shooting the targets around the mission waypoint using the AGM-114. Remember, you need to maintain line of sight with your TGP in order to guide the missile to the target.
Where the... Ah, okay, there he is. Okay, search box. I don't know which menu it was for before. Okay, never mind. Let's go. Did you mention anything about... Hey Jack? The voice mention anything about range? Or we missed it. TGP soy. Let's see.
Shoot. Shoot.
Rifle. Let's do that again. Should we turn on the laser? Laser is on. Let's do coloring.
Shoot.
Rifle.
Shoot. Another one. Let's look at the south. Maybe. It's actually missing from the view in the TGP. We don't get the direction, like the compass direction.
Now switch to the AGM-65. This is a larger, slightly heavier hitting anti-tank missile with a more advanced optical seeker. With this type of missile, you do not need to maintain a lock on the target after you fire it. The fire and forget capability allows you to fire at multiple targets in one pass or take cover after firing. Try taking down the targets at the next waypoint and practice taking advantage of the fire and forget capability.
Shoot. Shoot.
And rifle.
Shoot.
And rifle.
Shoot.
And rifle.
Shoot.
And rifle.
Shoot.
And rifle. And turning
Over T.
away.
Over T. Over T.
Let's launch. Smash 1, smash 2.
Nice shooting. This concludes the air-to-ground missile tutorial.
And number 6. Hold in 1. Nice. Splashed all targets. Nice. Okay. Feels manageable. And let's do a radar then. Different. Let's do this. Different jet. Same game.
Autopilot disengaged.
Welcome to the radar tutorial for the FA-26. Today you will learn how to use the radar to find and track other aircraft, as well as designate targets for air-to-air missiles. First, open the radar MFD page.
First of all, let's do a recenter actually.
The radar must be manually powered on using the radar power. The display shows you a compressed representation of the radar's 120-degree field of view. The display range can be adjusted using the R+ and R- buttons.
Okay.
Press the R+ button repeatedly until the display is at max range. As the radar sweeps over other aircraft, they will be displayed as blue icons for friends and orange icons for foes. The left to right scan angle can also be adjusted to allow the radar to scan more rapidly but in a smaller slice of the sky. The number shows the angle in degrees off bore sight. Set the radar as a sensor of interest, or SOI. Now you can slew the target designator using your joystick's thumb control.
Okay.
Flew the designator over a contact and press in on the center of the thumb control to start tracking it. You can track up to 4 contacts while still being able to scan the rest of the sky.
Autopilot disengaged.
They will appear as a small circle on your HUD, along with the corresponding number. In order to lock a target for weapons, you can either click the track again using the designator, or press the numbered MFD button on the left. While the target is locked, the other tracks will continue to be displayed, but the radar will not be able to scan for new targets. Information about the locked target's bearing, range, altitude, airspeed, and aircraft type will appear in the bottom right of the display. Use the unlock button to unlock the target, and the clear button to clear the tracks. For close-in engagements, the radar can be switched to boresight mode using the mode button. In this mode, the radar will point straight forward and lock onto the first contact it sees. If the radar is SOI, you can press the joystick thumb control to quickly unlock and find a new target.
Okay, I didn't listen.
Now for some weapons practice. Go back to scan mode and find, track, and lock the enemy aircraft.
Off. Okay, locked him up. Not sure if he's the only one. Range is 13 miles. I still can't see him. Okay.
Shoot.
Fox 3.
Pitbull.
Started. That's my first turn down. Nice. Cursor out of the boundaries increases the range, like on the F-18. Feels way simpler than DCS for obvious reasons. The controls are still a bit wonky. I would prefer actually that I could use my joystick. doesn't make much sense in this game, especially with all the controls. Okay. But to be honest, for half the price at the moment at Steam, that's a no-brainer. So, okay, so also increasing the range when I go to those sides. No, it doesn't. Okay, more sides, skin angle, options, display the speed scope, cursor speed, that's fine. I do prefer the B scope. So, I watched some YouTube videos for today. What I'm wondering is, where's the G limiter button? Oh, there it is. Ding!
Over G. Over G.
Okay. I see. Okay. Instant turn rate is about 450.
Over G.
So that's
Over G.
10G focal. Nice.
Over G.
Okay, sorry, a little bit tired. It's almost, it's actually 1 o'clock now. Here. Okay, I don't know, did I finish the tutorial? I'm not sure.
Shoot.
Is it PDT? Okay. PDT is. I'm guessing it's a. It's a tanker, right? Okay. Yep, tanker. Okay. hold on, it's not soy, that's why. Makes sense.
Over T.
Okay. Let's say exonism. And let's do the last tutorial for today. That would be Seek Mission with AGM-88. Let's go. Helmet. Can I actually throw it away? Yes, I can. Can I grab anything else here? Not really.
Welcome to the SEED tutorial. SEED stands for Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses. You'll use a combination of radar detecting sensors and special weapons to disable SAM sites. When a radar is searching for aircraft, it emits a signal that can be detected by your radar warning receiver. The radar type, bearing, and approximate range is shown on the RWR display relative to your position in the center. Open the Anti-Radar Attack Display, or ARAD. The display shows the same information gathered by the RWR, but allows you to select targets for anti-radiation missiles. You can also set the radar sources to be displayed as dynamic. When you lower the AR visor, you'll be able to see all of the targets around you for better situational awareness. Set the ARAD as the sensor of interest. Now you can use your joystick thumb control to slew the targeting cursor. Slew the cursor onto the enemy radar, then press on the thumb control to set it as the target. A square will appear on the selected target in both the MFD and the HUD. Now arm the weapon system. And switch to the AGM-88. This is a high-speed fire-and-forget anti-radiation missile. When fired, it'll home in on the radar source designated in the ARAD. Once you have a target selected, all you need to do is fly towards the target and fire once the missile is in range.
What is the range of the missile?
Try taking out the SAM radars using the AGM-88.
Was a dish on the mountain, okay.
Shoot.
Let's go fast again. feels a little bit like share flying. And if you saw the Blue Angels documentary, you know what I mean. Okay, let's give it a little more speed, a little more speed, a little more speed. And rifle. And splash target. Check. This one as well.
Shoot.
And Magnum. See it. Turn this off. Check target.
Shoot.
Magnum.
Shoot.
Magnum times 2. Splash 1. Check 1. I think on the little peninsula there, or on the half island. Is it? No, there it is. On the...
Great.
Oh, there it is.
This is the end of the CE tutorial.
Nice. Okay, that's easy. Nice. That's easy. Hey, edit. Sorry, I don't really know what you mean. But nice that you're here. Thank you. Okay. That's it for the tutorials, I guess. I think that's the stealth fighter. That's F-18. That's the F-35, I guess. I don't have this one. Double-seater Comanche. It's the F-16 trainer. And I just bought this as well in the sale on Steam. It's also just, I think, $5 or something. Let's go back and let's do Starfighter. Steel strike. You know what? Why not? Search for and destroy enemy weapons cache, avoid detection or pay the price. Okay. Once they know where you are, they do anything to stop you. Okay. Fine. Let's do it. Let's try first mission. Can't be that bad, right? Okay. Cannon, yes, please. And weapons cache. So let's see. We should take. Let's use GPU 38s. And let's use some back. And you know what? Let's take off. Dark green looks nice. Let's go. Aim on. Let's go. So, are these maps procedurally generated, or are these like somebody did these? Does anybody know?
This is Command. You need to find and destroy the enemy weapon caches. We don't know exactly where they are, but they're probably near air defenses. We've sent you some estimated GPS coordinates based on the radar emissions.
Okay. Let's do battery on. Battery on.
Try not to get detected. Once the enemy knows where you are, they'll send everyone they got at you.
And that's why we have to stop. Engines on. This we don't turn on. Don't need. Parking brake is off. Sorry, is on. Hook is up. Landing bar is up. Jettison we don't need. Wings are perfect. Okay. Storage bench. Feels a little bit like the Harrier.
Altitude.
Let's try to sneak a little bit around the mountains.
altitude,
Sorry. Maybe I should turn all these on this side and this one on the right side. So I can actually use it.
altitude, altitude, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up.
Be advised, the enemy must have detected you. Any minute now, they're gonna start sending all cap towards you.
Over D, over D. Missile launch. Over D, over D. Over D. Altitude, 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 altitude.
Let's see. This one should be on target. Oh, Christ. Here they are.
Over D. Pull up, pull up. Altitude, 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 altitude. Missile launch. Chaff, flare. Pull up, chaff, flare. Pull up, altitude, 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 over D, altitude, over D, altitude, 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 pull up,
Defeated.
altitude, 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 over T, altitude, 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 launch, altitude, missile, altitude, 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 shaft, flare, altitude, 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 shaft, flare, altitude, over T, launch, shoot,
Little biatch.
shaft, flare, pull up, altitude, pull up, altitude, 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 pull up, launch, altitude, 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 shoot, altitude,
Box 2.
altitude, 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 shaft, altitude, 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 altitude.
Wait, I don't have any focuses.
Missile launch.
Woo! I think someone hit me.
Missile launch. Pull up. Pull up.
Yeah, something hit me. Okay. And I'm dead. So, destroy target, vehicle was destroyed, killed by G-Force. Okay. Nice. Okay. Feels interesting. Okay. For today, I think that should be it. I actually enjoyed the game. It's quite fun. And for the price at the moment, I think I got the main game and the future F14 for about 20 quid or something. So interesting controls. I like the hand controls. Something different. Not sure if this will be my go-to simulator in the future, but that's a nice vibe. Definitely will return to it. And if you are also playing it, then join up and you can teach me something. Until now, until then, see you later. Good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Have a great day. See you around, guys.